1 year ago, PGR eSports put on its biggest event to date as 240 of sim racing's best descended on Daytona International Speedway, looking to become the first ever champion of the Great American Sim Race. Now, 1 year later, history already has been made before we ever take a single lap of racing, as this year, even more have shown up to these hallowed high banks. 336 drivers have descended upon the World Center of Racing, looking to become the second ever champion of the biggest sim racing event of the year. We welcome you tonight to opening night of the PGR 500. And with that, we wish you good evening and welcome inside the PGR eSports broadcast booth high above the virtual Daytona International Speedway, as tonight we will open proceedings with the first two heat races of the event that will set the tone for this week's event. My name is Dawson Wise. Happy to have you with us for Heat 1 and Heat 2 here tonight. Heat 1, we'd like to thank our Heat 1 sponsor. It's proudly powered by Mark Vondell Racing. Huge thank you to Mark Vondell for everything he's done for the money racing community. Sport like this is what keeps these shows going and keeps us afloat here at PGR. Keep an eye on Mark tonight behind the wheel, number 59 McCullough Motorsports entry, as he goes to battle to try to make a run in the PGR 500. Want to welcome in my broadcast partner for these first two heat races. You know him well. He is the voice of the PGR eSports Intimidator Super Speedway Series. It is Austin Green that will join me in the booth tonight. And Austin, a chance for drivers to set the tone for the entire week. What an exciting week it is. The road has finally reached its destination.
Yeah, that's right, Dawson. Historic event that's going to take place here tonight at Daytona International Speedway. We're going to dive right into it. Home track for me back in Florida, but for these drivers here tonight, 31 degrees of banking. This track opened back in 1959. We've seen a ton of great racing here. High speeds is the name of the game for this 2.5-mile super speedway. And here tonight, it's going to be all about who can find the right dancing partner when the time is right.
We'll get right into it indeed. Here is the schedule for the week. Again, two heats tonight before we start to give you three heats tonight starting tomorrow night. There you see at 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll go live for Heat 3 tomorrow. We'll have 3 tomorrow, 3 through 5. We'll have 6 through 8 on Wednesday night. We'll have 9 through Heat 11 on Thursday night, and then Heat 12 will go green on Friday evening. Before we get to the good stuff, pole shootout racing, 10 o'clock on Friday night. Saturday, a full day of racing for some. 2 last chance qualifier races, 2 dual races that will eventually set the field for the second annual Great American Sim Race at noon on Sunday afternoon. As we get ready to go, Austin, 30 laps for these guys. The heat race format, pretty simple, similar to last year.
Pretty simple, and it's going to hold strong through all 12 heats this year. 30 laps per heat, 100% fuel, so these guys will not have to pit under green. You notice, though, one of the big keys, one green-white checkered attempt, and I'm sure we'll see a couple of those throughout the heats this week. Fast repairs, you do have one in the heat races. Dawson, I know these guys not going to have one as we get into the duels and features, so something to keep in mind, but at least you know if you get in trouble early here in the heats, you're not down and out for the count.
No, absolutely not. A very unique setup here for the fast repair situation. Let's get right to it. These are the 28 men that will contest the first of 12 heats in the PGR 500. On the pole and advancing to Friday night's pole shootout, which we'll tell you about later in the evening. It's with a time of 50.149 seconds. It's the 34 of Sean Boundy returning to PGR for this year's PGR 500. He'll go from the pole position in this first race to his outside. A veteran of the community, a longtime super speedway racer, Kenny McCullough, will go from the outside of row number 1. Back on row 2 in the third spot, it's going to be James Bomar making his PGR debut. And alongside him, one of the stories of the SummerSlam 499, it's Jacob Wilkerson that will go from position number 4. Back on row number 3 in the 5th spot, it's going to be Jason Wallet in the 76, and alongside him it's Jay Cook, McDonald's Chevrolet Camaro. He'll go on the outside of row number 3. Back on row 4 in the 7th spot, it's going to be Yaroslav Donskoy, or rather David Flanagan, in the Jack Shack entry there in the 31. Alongside him, Yaroslav Donskoy in the 8 machine. They'll make up 7th and 8th. Rounding out the top 10, it's Sean Kapinski, Spam Ford Mustang in the 9th spot, and tonight's Heat 1 sponsor, Mark Vondell, new look for him in 10th for McCullough Motorsports.
The number 87 driver for Team Conti Sim Sports, Bryce Rayner, will roll off from the inside of row number 6. Julian Rickey to his outside in 12th. Back in row number 7 here tonight, starting on the inside in 13th, is going to be Chris Otto with JW Sailors to his outside in 14th. Manazzi Major Timothy Harper, both going to have to start back in row number 8. We've got a NASCAR driver here in Heat Race 1. It's going to be Rajah Caruth, who will roll off from the 17th position. He'll have William Johnson to his outside in 18th. Zach Logan will roll off from the 19th spot, and it's going to be Andrew Zotto rounding out the top 20.
Back on row number 11, Dean Ellert in the 17. The all-white Monster Toyota will roll from 21st. It's Trip Bearden to his outside in 22nd in car number 3. On row 12, Sean Parrish in the all-black 595 will go from 23rd. It's Aaron Roth from the 24th spot. Back on row 13, in the 25th spot, it's Josh Newman. Alongside him, Devin Rogers in car number 25. Last 2 cars on the field, 28 total. Chris Shepard in the 27th place starting spot. Jason Dinsmore, shotgun on the field in 28th. A chance to set the tone, a chance to give us something to look forward to for an exhilarating week of racing. It's finally time to go. Heat 1 of the PGR 500 is underway. Green flag, we're racing from Daytona. The field rockets off turn 2 and down the Daytona super stretch for the first time, and already 3 wide. Out back of the top 10, the first car to move was Rajah Caruth. He's already made a couple of 3 wide moves in the red, white, and blue Hendrick car Chevrolet. He's going to the outside of Ondell again. Caruth really wants to make some moves early in this one. He's already up to 4th on the outside trying to make it work. Third line continues to try to make it work, and Rajah is going to lead it again as lap 1's completed the line.
Aggression going to be the name of the game early. 1 lap already complete here at Daytona. Now looking back to the outside, Jacob Wilkerson doing all the pushing though up front. Kent McCullough Jr. continues to lead into turn 1, but your pole sitter for Heat 1, Sean Boundy, he made the move to the outside, didn't get any help. He's going to fall back to the front bumper of Jay Cook. 3 wide further back as they exit turn 2.
Yeah, interesting to note, a custom setup underneath these race cars powered by TWRS Team Watson Racing Setups. And I'll tell you what, it has been so racy in the lead up to this 500 heat. 1 car off the track further back. That was Ricky in that all blue Chevrolet. He gets it back going and gets back up. This setup has been so racy. The 3rd lane has been able to make it work. Every lane has been viable at some point in some of these lead up races. The recruitment process that we got to see as the new setup got underneath these cars, it made them very racy. But so far, up front, Wilkerson been a very good soldier for Kenny McCullough as he continues to keep him out front in the top 8. Back to Flanagan, actually making the top 5 back to Flanagan are clear. It's the outside 2 lanes.
Watch out, Dawson. We got
start
trouble
to rally.
Here. Towards the back, 1 car around, up into the outside wall. Caution's going to fly for the first time here on the road to the PGR 500. And it looks like it is going to be the 19 of J.W. Sawyers that's collected, and 1 more. And I believe that may have been Christopher Shepard that went around coming through turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, a couple of cars involved here early. Salyers, you heard Austin call out, that is Chris Shepard. That is the other car that is involved. So we'll start to go back and take a look at what happened under this first caution of Speed Week here for the PGR 500. And Nazi Major gets into it as well. That's the 82 right there, the blue and black car passing by on the inside as he got some contact as well. So it was Shepard and Salyers. They were towards the tail end of the field, and see right there, 1 guy in the middle moves up just a little, turns Nazi Major out of line. And the secondary, as guys get stacked up back around Shepard, it leads to the 19 going sideways. It was on from there. Salyers nowhere to go for the 17.
Yeah, and it looked like it all started with somebody getting up into the outside wall. It was the 82 a Major, as you just mentioned, Dawson. And, you know, it's so tough here. We talk about 3 wide at a track like Talladega, but obviously Daytona a little bit more narrow, and they almost got 4 wide right there for just a moment. That looked like the 95 of Jay Cook trying to make something happen to get his way to the front, and all it takes is a little bit of contact, but a tough break for Major. He's trying to save it, but man, just doesn't leave anywhere for the 19 to go. And tell you what, early caution, Dawson, I think a lot of these guys had some butterflies going into this one, and certainly gives you a chance to regroup, and gotta think you kind of know what you're working with after those first couple of laps.
Yeah, absolutely. Feels like guys starting to get into a bit of a rhythm, and the jitters may be gone as well. We talk about those in the opening 5 laps of these restrictor plate races. For the first time tonight, the caution flag is out. Cautions this week going to be powered by the NASRA 6 Hours of Le Mans on March 7th. It's 6 hours. The strategy, teamwork, and endurance only on the NASRA 360 Racing Network. Thanks to the folks over at NASRA for their support of the PGR 500. Of course, NASRA had their 500-mile event a couple of weeks ago. A lot of promotions going through their 500-mile events. It's Speed Week, such an exciting time of the year. And a lot of guys in this field that we'll see this week, Austin, a lot of them have already run 500 miles. A lot of them have already run over 1,000 miles as a part of these Speed Weeks events. So some guys have some run under their belts already and know exactly what to expect in some of these races.
Yeah, a lot of practice this week and really over the last month in these different 500-mile events, but everybody's been getting ready for the biggest one of them all. Good time to mention, we'll get into the specific payouts as we go throughout the heats here tonight, but over $11,000 going to be the total amount in the race purse over the course of the week, and of course that $3,000 first place prize for the winner of the feature is what everybody has their eye on. But Dawson, you talk about some of the experience, and I'm looking up at the front of the field here. Ken McCullough Jr. currently leading the way. That's one of the money racing veterans from McCullough Motorsports. He's got Jacob Wilkerson, James Beaumont behind him, Jason Wallet. Seen that name in the College Series multiple times, so you've got a lot of experience here at the front of the field, and it's going to be so interesting to see how these top 5 work together, knowing that they're in transfer positions to make it straight to the duels on Saturday.
Well, no surprise to me, experience rises to the top early in these races. Guys that have run a lot of laps that have been in 500-milers before. Of course, Kenny McCullough has started multiple of these kinds of races over his decorated sim racing career. Jacob Wilkerson, if you'll remember, back in August of last year, started the SummerSlam 499, led a bunch of laps in that race, so no surprise to me. He's up here swinging the haymakers early in this first heat. You talked about Wallet, you talk about Flanagan. There's a couple of others as well. You can't really go without mentioning a guy like Rajah Caruth. I think that's pretty self-explanatory why he is on the move early. He's +9 from where he started back in the 17th position, so he's currently in a transfer spot. But again, experience to me was going to be the big thing early, but you'll start to see some guys that maybe are not quite as comfortable start to rise to the top later in the race when we get to about the lap 15 mark, and those guys can take a deep breath and say, all right, I'm into it now. I know what to expect. I can drive right to the front and compete for the win, or at least for a transfer position. Again, we'll remind you of how those transfer positions work. Top 5 will go to the duels, as Austin mentioned a moment ago. 6th through 10th tonight. We'll move on to the last chance qualifiers on Saturday afternoon. And of course, everyone else, 11th through 28th, are going home tonight, unless the 2 guys that qualified for the pole shootout. The top 2 qualifiers tonight were Sean Boundy and Jacob Wilkerson. They will automatically race Friday night in the pole shootout. If they can win that race or finish second, they will lock into the feature on Sunday, even perhaps if they finish outside the transfer position. So an interesting wrinkle this year in terms of the qualifying process. Those guys do still have to run the heat race. They will have a mulligan, a do-over, if you will, on Friday night. A fun wrinkle in this PGR 500 process. I'll tell you what, that might be the most exciting race of the week. Will be those 24 drivers going at it for the front row spots. Let's re-rack it for you as we get ready to go back green. 24 laps to go here in heat race number 1. Kenny McCullough is the leader. He elects to start on the outside lane. The outside of Jacob Wilkerson, it will be James Beaumont and Jason Wallet on row 2. David Flanagan, Yaroslav Donskoy back on row number 3. Behind them, it's Sean Gopinski and Rajah Caruth, with Chris Otto and Bryce Reiner rounding out the top 10. As they run, that will change. This next-gen car has been very racy, as I said with this setup just a moment ago, and we've already seen that third line work. I look at guys like Caruth, Donskoy, and even some guys a little further back behind them that have made that line work already. How about +10 for Rajah Caruth, +10 for Dean Ellert so far in this one, +4 for Otto, +3 for Donskoy. Some of the guys utilize that third line.
And the heats are obviously the hardest part to get through, Dawson, and you look towards the front of the field. Obviously, you want to take care of the guys that you're working with. Track temp here tonight, good thing to mention here, under 100 degrees, and you talked about that TWRS setup, already racy. When you factor in the cooler temperatures, the grip goes up. These cars are going to be running well close to 200 miles an hour. Going to be exciting. Less than 25 laps to go. It goes by in a hurry. Can Ken McCullough Jr. find a way to hold on?
Let's get back to racing. 24 laps to go. The first caution flag of the night cleaned off the racetrack, and we are ready to get back underway here on lap 7. It's Kenny McCullough Jr. and Jacob Wilkerson in the restart zone. Green flag. Off we go towards turn 1. McCullough gets a really good start on the outside. He'll jump down to the nose here of Wilkerson. Wallet did not quite get the memo. He will have Donskoy in behind him, but guys are bailing to the bottom. Wallet looks in his rearview mirror, and all of a sudden he sees nobody. Back to the 87. That's Bryce Reiner.
momentum is going to be on the bottom here as they come onto the super stretch. Wallet needs some help, or he's going to have to find somewhere to duck into the inside. Up front, though, Ken McCullough Jr. leads. No move yet, but you can tell the 88 of Rajah Caruth ducked out a couple of times. He wants to make the move, but the question is, will anybody go with him? Further towards the back of the pack, well outside of the transfer positions. You got a couple of guys here going 2 and 3 wide. Jason Dinsmore going to duck back down to the inside. Wallet still stuck up top. As they come back to the line this time, it is all Ken McCullough Jr. leading with 23 laps to go at Daytona.
Well, Ellert is trying to give Wallet everything he can to get him up there, but they just do not have help. Now the cavalry arrives on the scene. Bounty's in that group, I believe. Our pole sitter, no, Bounty's just ahead of them. The different blue and yellow car in behind that group, but it's about 7 cars. Make it 8 up on the top side of the racetrack. Wallet leads that outside lane for now, still 23 laps to go. So a long way to go for Wallet. That's a tough break in terms of track position, but you got a long time to still make it up. Man, they still cannot get this top lane rolling. They are trying everything they can. You're on board with Dean Ellert now. He is the pusher of Jason Wallet. Look at the cars on the inside. Rolling right on by. They have not yet gotten the momentum back into that outside lane. You saw Timothy Harper. He was one of the cars that got around. And along with one of the cars that was in the crash, I wanted to say, was in that group as well. So, look, I mean, 15 cars are clear for the most part on the bottom side of the racetrack. That top lane still struggling to get going. This is all you could dream to see if you're McCullough, Wilkerson, Bomar, Flanagan, and Caruth. You're the guys in the dual transfer spots, and no one is challenging you for them right now.
And this is typical of kind of what we see towards the end of the feature for these 500-mile events up front. Everybody gets nervous. Nobody wants to be that first guy to make the move in case nobody goes with you. You know you're in danger of falling out of the transfer position. So I would almost say leading here, probably the best thing you can do right now if you're Ken McCullough Jr. Jacob Wilkerson, James Bomar, all content to run where they stand at the moment, but that outside line just continuing to struggle. Jason Wallet still trying to pick up a push here, but it's just not enough momentum to get going. These guys are going to have to organize soon, otherwise they're going to keep falling back. We're already almost at the 20 lap to go marker, and Dawson, that outside has not been the strong suit so far tonight in Heat 1.
Well, and if you'll notice, the experience we talked about earlier is staying on the bottom for the most part. I mean, you talk about Wilkerson up front, Flanagan up front, Rajah Caruth, Yaroslav Donskoy's raced in a number of these super speedway events. Bounty, Zanto's been a numerous time PGR starter. Julian Ricky, Timothy Harper. I mean, these are guys that have logged a lot of laps on super speedways. Right as I say that, that was Harper that leaned out of line. The green and white Toyota on the inside. But a lot of these guys that have logged a ton of laps on super speedways aren't moving off the double yellow line. With the exception of Jason Wallet, the guys up top maybe a little bit less comfortable with this style of racing, but not able to get that line moving to the front in order to get them where they want to go. They are still trying to recover. They're almost to the back of the field. The top 15 or so, it actually may be closer to 20 now, are clear on the bottom side of the racetrack. No moves anywhere. It's signaling out. And again, later in the week, you mentioned the 500. Even in the dual race, perhaps you might expect to see some of this in terms of getting to a pit stop. We expect pit stops in those races, but in this race, no pit stop, no fuel concerns, no tire concerns. Really, these guys are just logging laps. To me, that is so surprising. Not what I expected out of these heat races, again, unless you're in the top 5 to 7 cars. Outside now is starting to get the slightest bit of run back to the front. That's Wallet and Ellert that have finally gotten hooked up and are rolling the right direction now. They're hooked together, and they're going to get some takers here. Josh Newman jumps out of line. He'll jump in front of Jason Wallet. All of a sudden, the outside starts to grow with 20 laps to go, make it 19.
And I was watching to see if the 59 Napa machine here for Mark Von Dell was going to jump to the high side there and try to cover the move, but he is not. He'll let the 10 of Newman slide up to his outside. The 76 of Wallet going to roll up, and this could be a big moment right here, Dawson, because I think this outside was just about out of attempts to push, and they'll obviously get a fresh pusher now in the 76 of Wallet. Back at the front of the field, though, the man who continues to lead them all, the 03 of Ken McCullough Jr. into turn 3. And I noticed what he was doing here over the course of the last couple of laps. Look how he ducks that car up about half a lane as they go through turn 3 and 4. He's trying to give Jacob Wilkerson a little bit of air. He wants to keep that second place car cool. You got to remember, sometimes if you take care of the guy behind you, he'll take care of you as it comes down to the end. But $60 to the winner of each heat race. We've got 18 laps to go, so the 43's playing nice right now. But Dawson, if we're coming to the checkered flag, he may very well make a move on the 03.
Yeah, for now they are friends and allies, if you will. Getting down towards the end of this race, that will certainly change. Again, there is money on the line, but you don't want to over-jeopardize yourself when we get into those final 10 laps or so of this race. Wilkerson could very well make a move, but you got to think he's hoping this thing stays relatively clean head into that final run so that he does not potentially jeopardize his advancement in the PGR 500. He still wants to race on Saturday, so you have to weigh it here in the last 18 laps. And that's so interesting to me, the different mindsets of drivers in this field, where a guy back running in where Sean Boundy is right now, or Andrew Zanto just outside the transfer positions, just wants to claw into one of those spots and race another time on Saturday. Guys like Wilkerson, guys like Flanagan, guys like Caruth are starting to think about winning this race. It's the unique balance of these kinds of events. The guys that find themselves in the right spot can think about winning it. Other guys, they're not thinking about winning. They're thinking about surviving. That's back around again. Reiner, Moundy, Gopinski, Otto, Zanto, Ricky. You're looking at them right now back around that transfer. We're actually looking just behind it because now the outside's got some more juice. Now it's Timothy Harper in the 23, looking up the outside. Interestingly enough, Josh Newman is really working that line forward. Look at the gap, though, between Newman and Wallet on the outside lane. So it's really a two-car tandem trying to pull an entire line forward. They are making progress. It's slow. They are making some progress. They're going to get another taker. Yes, they are, right on the nose of Timothy Harper up on the outside. That's William Johnson that will go to his push. So all of a sudden, Austin, as these guys see that outside start to work, they're starting to want to go up there and actually make this a two-wide race, latest of which William Johnson on the outside.
And the closer that outside line gets to the front, the more drivers that will start to jump out. Right now, they're content single file for about the front 8, front 9. But you notice now we're going to get another taker. This time it's the 62. Jason Dinsmore, he jumps out of line. He's going to get a big push now from the 16. Timothy Harper is going to make it a 3-car tandem. Got to be very careful doing that. Coming off of turn 4 here, about halfway through heat race number 1. Ken McCullough Jr. continues to lead. Now the 97 is going to jump to the high side.
That's Julian Ricky that jumps up, and all of a sudden it's almost half this dual field that's on the outside. There's a few more that all jump to the outside all at once. And, oh man, almost a split. There is going to be a split here. Boundy jumps up. There was one car to his outside that's jumping up that's going the wrong way. That's Gopinski. He went a little bit too high and did not want to risk jumping back down in front of that lane. There's now another car that's jumped out in front of that line. I believe that is Andrew Zanto that now leads the outside lane. The all-red 06, you might recognize that paint scheme from the SummerSlam 499 event. He's brought back the same colors for this one, and he's up the outside and moving quickly. I'll tell you, Austin, the next driver I expect to move is Rajat Caruth in the bottom lane. I don't expect that he's not going to take this run when it gets there.
Yeah, look what he's doing. He's got a little bit of a gap here, Dawson. Maybe the 88's trying to set up a run here to see if he can try to jump to the outside with a push from Yaroslav Donsky, but not going to do it just yet. There he goes. The 88's going to jump to the high side. Donsky's going to follow him, and this outside is getting ready to roll. Almost back to 2x2, up to the top 3. Rajat Caruth leads the outside. Ken McCullough Jr. still in front on the inside. 2x2, and they're starting to heat up at the front of the pack.
The pushes are getting harder, too, and I wondered when the 31 of Flanagan rolled into the car in front of him, Bomar, I wondered if he was going to try to get himself clear, and he does. But now he jumps right back down as the outside takes a bit of a break here. Caruth and Donskoy got a little bit upset up there in the outside lane. Now he's going to take it again. It's the Jack Shacks, David Flanagan, that jumps out in front of the outside. Look at Kenny McCullough fading just a little bit to his outside. He's trying to keep Jacob Wilkerson's engine cool when this outside line inevitably gets there. Flanagan leads the top. He'll go for the 4th spot over Otto here, who filled his gap on the inside. He'll get alongside Bomar. Here comes the run. McCullough up to block. It's 2x2 at the front. We're going to race for it here at Daytona. Wilkerson on the bottom on the push from Bomar and Otto. Top side is McCullough on the push from Flanagan. Caruth and Donskoy, they're pushing 5 cars deep on the top lane.
That was a big and very risky move from Ken McCullough Jr. Went up hoping that Flanagan would not hang him out to dry 3 wide. It works out, and this is going to really help the 43 of Wilkerson cool the temps down. But they're going to pull 2 cars extra clear on the top side. Ken McCullough Jr. stays in the lead, but now you've got David Flanagan and Rajat Caruth, who have moved up to 2nd and 3rd. The outside now being led by the 9 car. Yaroslav Donsky has picked up 3 positions from where he started this race at, and that Toyota Camry is looking stout up front. Ken McCullough Jr., though, continues to be in control, and Dawson, they are now 2x2 all the way back to the field. You got to wonder, what point do we now try to get the 3rd lane working?
Rubble, Sean Bounty into the wall, big crash into turn 3, multiple cars involved. As the field flies apart mid-pack, there's more wrecking up the banking of turn 3. Timothy Harper is in it, Ellert is in it. More cars spin to a stop on the inside of turn 3. It was a monster hit, man. They are still crashing. Aaron Roth is involved. Jay Cook is involved in the 95. I think Devin Rogers may be in it. Munatsi Major, I believe, is in this. Gopinski, Bearden, Shepard. A lot of cars involved in this one up on the banking of turn 3. The first big incident of the week breaks out with 11 laps to go in heat race number 1. We'll go back and take a look. See the carnage back here. There are a number of cars involved in this one. There was Bearden, Major. We saw Bounty. We see Shepard. We see others as well, as this is towards the tail end of the field. Man, Bounty's hit, I'll tell you, I saw it. It was a big one on the outside wall. Looks like Zach Logan is involved as well. That was the 7-Eleven that just drove away. And more cars come to a stop. The 22 of Gopinski you saw in the grass. Here's what started it. Bounty was actually third in the outside lane. He was inside the top 10. Offset push perhaps from Ricky as he checked up just a little bit. And it is carnage from there on the banking.
Yeah, and the checkups, Dawson, we know how quickly they can snowball here at Daytona. It looked like it kind of just got bottled up there in about the first 4 rows or so on that outside line, and eventually Bounty gets offset. The 97 tries to check up to miss him, but he hits him offset, and yeah, as mentioned, that is a huge hit for Sean Bounty into the outside safer barrier. That likely going to destroy his competitive chances here in Heat Race 1. Good news for him is that he will be advancing to the pole shootout, but man, for the rest of these guys that are out back, couple of big hits here, but more importantly, Dawson, even if you make it through this and the damage is repairable, you're getting sent to the back, and we're only going to have under 10 laps to go here in Heat Race 1. So carnage in turn 3 is certainly going to lead to a chaotic restart here in Heat Race number 1 towards the end. But we want to give you another onboard view here. I believe this is actually going to be from the 95 machine, and trying to sneak through, sees the smoke out ahead, checks up, makes it through initially, and then you see that second spin up front. Overall, pretty good job until contact there at the end ultimately sends the 95 spinning through the grass.
And Jay Cook, that's the second one for he and Chris Shepard. They were both involved in the first crash just a little bit ago, about the 1/3 mark of this race. So they're both coming down pit road for the second time. Munatsi Major, same thing for the 82. All 3 of those cars, unfortunately, now have found themselves in 2 incidents. But again, you have one do-over in the pits. A fast repair available for the heats. Once we get to Saturday, that fast repair will go away. But for now, you do get one extra car, if you will, in quotes, in the pits that you can go and get and kind of mentally and physically reset and get ready to go for another restart. You have another chance. So for Bounty especially, he was the one I definitely would assume would need a fast repair there in the 34. But there's a couple cars that took big-time hits in that one as well. So we'll get ready to go back green. It will be inside of 10 laps to go as you see Major and Cook doing extended repair on pit lane. Kenny McCullough Jr. continues to lead the field. It's been a really strong effort for the captain of McCullough Motorsports tonight. Hearing the team banner there on that red and black 03. David Flanagan's had himself a nice effort tonight too. He is the second place car. Again, that bright pink, blue, and yellow and white Chevrolet representing the Jack Shack. Raja Karuth runs back in the 3rd spot. So far, a strong showing. One of last year's championship 4 in the Craftsman Truck Series. Yaroslav Donskoy is up to 4th +4 for him. Really impressed by the run of Andrew Zanto so far, +15. And I'll tell you what, Austin, right before that caution came out, I'm almost positive that top lane was about to start rolling. Donskoy and Zanto had gotten hooked up. They were going to be rolling to the front. They were just a few feet away from potentially taking a few more spots.
Yeah, and I talked about before the race got going, you got to find the right dancing partner at the right time here at these super speedways, and it took a couple of tries here for that outside line to really find the combo that got it going towards the front. But boy, once they did, the momentum was absolutely unbelievable. You saw Rajah Caruth and David Flanagan were able to get up there with Ken McCullough Jr. They were able to get clear and drop down to the bottom. So you know that outside line works. Now you got to make the decision. Do you want to be conservative or do you want to be aggressive? We talked about the top 5 advancing straight through into the duels, but at the same time, if you just try to sit there and wait, you may catch yourself somehow going towards the back, especially if the 3rd line gets going. So I think the top 3 guys, or really top 4, are pretty comfortable with where they stand, at least until we get probably to the white flag. But everybody else, again, you have that decision. Are you trying to advance or are you trying to go for it all? Depending on what the answer to that question is, we'll have to see who goes to the 3rd lane here and who tries to make it work with where they stand now.
Yeah, the third lane has been very racy again over the past couple of weeks in the recruitment process with this new setup underneath the hoods of these race cars. Again, I want to thank the folks over at Team Watson Racing Setups for the setup these guys are driving on this week, and we'll have for the heats, the LCQs, the duels, and the feature. Quick correction for you, a good catch by Tyler Vickery, and a good catch by Race Control as well. It is the top 2 finishers in each heat, not the top 2 qualifiers. We'll advance to the pole shootout, so appreciate Race Control for the clarification there. So the top 2 finishers will race in the pole shootout on Friday night, not the top 2 qualifiers. So apologies for the misunderstanding there. We got that clarified now. So there actually is, beyond the $60, more to race for. Finish first or second, you got a chance to lock yourself onto the front row of the Great American Sim Race on Sunday afternoon. So big deal for whoever finishes 1-2 in this heat race, and a lot more to it than just $60 and to get to say you won a heat race in the PGR 500. It'll be 8 laps to go here in heat number 1 when we get back under the green flag. It continues to be Kenny McCullough out front. David Flanagan will be to his left elbow in the second spot. Row 2, it's Rajah Karuk, Yaroslav Donskoy, Wilkerson, Zanto, Otto, Bomar, Parrish, and Reiner. The rest of the top 10, that being Sean Parrish and Bryce Reiner, making some of their first appearances in the top 10. 8 laps to go. We'll see if we finish it right here. 10 advance, 18 go home. Great flag back in the air in heat race number 1. It's another on-point restart for Kenny McCullough. He's way out in front of Donskoy on the outside, but Flanagan did not go as well as Wilkerson did on the last restart. McCullough with a decision to make. He'll stay up with Donskoy here on the banking of turn 1.
Oh, this is getting dicey, Dawson. They're going to split 3 wide. To the high side goes the 88 machine. Rajah Karuk wanting to get aggressive here early. Chris Otto, though, the man at the front. The 88 further back. In fact, looks like we've got 2 88s in the field here tonight. Otto, though, the 88 that you see on the outside, trying to make it work here with the 9 of Donskoy. They're at the front right now, but the inside starts to charge back into turn 3. Ken McCullough Jr. is going to draw back even. We'll be coming to 7 laps to go this time. And notice, we have a little bit of a break in the pack. Front half is trying to pull away from everybody else, but those gaps are going to close back up. Now the inside starts to surge. All of a sudden, Donskoy's fading, and the question is, will the 88 of Karuk jump out?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. That gap opened up for him, and he thought about it. Further back, some bumping and banging up into turn 1. That was back around Wallet and Eller and company. They all keep it straight. They're 3 wide for a moment. You see it back there at the tail end of the field. Everybody keeps it going. Back up front, it still continues to be McCullough as the outside fades. Donskoy, Otto, and others on their way back. Bomar's in that line as well. They are going the wrong way on the outside. Bryce Reiner's up, but now here comes some help. Rajah Karuk jumps up. David Flanagan jumps up, and all of a sudden, just like that, the outside has the run. McCullough up to block. Veteran move there from Kenny McCullough. He's back to the lead. Continues to lead the way and play Pied Piper. The line, 6 laps to go. We're down to crunch time. Flanagan wants to lead bad. He jumps to the outside of McCullough. He'll put that nose right on the right side door of McCullough. He'll drag some side draft. McCullough going backwards for the first time. Kenny McCullough loses the lead. It's now the Jack Shack entry of David Flanagan leading. And boy, does he have an aggressive push behind him. You're on board with the pusher. That's Rajah Karuk.
Yeah, they got tandem up there for a moment on the high side, coming off of turn 2. Now they're going to have to defend back down to the bottom. You see another run here from the 20 of James Bomar on the inside, and he's found a tandem partner now. That's the 87 of Bryce Reiner trying to make his way to the front, now 3 wide. Karuk has to catch it as they both wash up the track and stuck in the middle. Donskoy, where is he going to go? He's got no help. Now Karuk charges back to the 3rd lane.
Oh man, Rajah's lucky there. He gets some help from out back from Otto. They've got Timothy Harper, who's up as far as he has been in this race in the 23 trouble out back. Multiple cars spin. I think Dinsmore's one of them. He spins to the inside. Major's in it. Boundy's in it. Multiple cars involved. Sean Parrish is going to slide to the outside wall as well. I believe Munatsi Major has caught damage in a 3rd wreck tonight. And with 5 to go, oh my goodness, a big hit there. That's Mike Bearden in the 3 as he gets into Parrish.
Yeah, man, that's a tough break for these two. Right at the end of it, it looked like, at least for Bearden, he may have survived most of it to the last second. Let's go back, he had a replay of it here. As they're coming through the trial, but looks like, oh man, just a little bit of running out of room right there. Looked like that was the 9 of Donskoy in the middle. And he got squeezed down by somebody. Couldn't quite tell from that first angle. But once the contact started, Dawson, we're getting late in the race, and it's just so tough to try to dodge it. And here we go, we're gonna get another look at this from the onboard view of Donskoy, and it looks like 22 starts to come up, and then, actually I think that's potentially William Johnson, and then he gets pinched by the 17 on the inside. Looks like the 9's going to get through it, Dawson, but there was a couple of really big hits out back.
Yeah, a couple of really big hits from guys coming into the crash gun. I think Manatsu Major might have had one of them in the 82. There you see the one with Bearden as Chris Shepard scrambles through the grass. Dinsmore drives away. Biggest hit in that crash was actually Bearden coming in late in the 3. You're on board with him. The wreck had already developed here on the banking, and you're going to see Bearden come into the camera frame, and Parrish comes off the wall. And I genuinely wonder if perhaps he didn't see the 595. It's an all-black car that was kind of hidden in the shadow that's up alongside the safer barrier. I genuinely wonder if Bearden just perhaps didn't see it. Man, I'll tell you what, Austin, I think Jason Wallet has expired the motor on that 76 machine as he sits on pit road. A big development for one of the drivers that I was looking to in this heat to potentially advance.
Yeah, and I wonder how he got involved here, because I was looking back at the replay, Dawson, and I don't think he got involved in any part of the actual accident. So yeah, not sure what the issue is here for the 76, but we'll have to see if we can get an update on that here in just a moment. And bigger news, this is going to set us up for what will likely be our first and only overtime attempt here of the night. We talked about only one green-white checkered in these heat races, and Dawson, assuming that we do it PGR style, believe that this would potentially finish under green and we will not see another caution. Regardless of how it plays out, you've got David Flanagan up front for the Jack Shack, James Bomar second, Bryce Rayner third, Ken McCullough Jr. fourth, and the last man in position to transfer through to the duels right now is Joshua Newman, the 10 car, in fifth.
Yeah, again, a bit of a shuffle here at the front. Kenny McCullough had led all of this opening heat race, started on the pole and led most of the opening several laps. Started up front, rather, and led most of these opening laps. So for Kenny McCullough, obviously a bit of a new scenario to be in. He'll restart fourth here in just a moment. Flanagan up from 7th to the lead. Big movers, though. You talked about Newman. How about plus 20 for the driver of the 10? From 25th to a dual transfer spot as of right now. Aaron Roth is plus 18 right behind him in the 6th spot. So some big movers. Rajat Karuth is plus 10. Everyone, except for Kenny McCullough, inside the top 10 has gained positions from where they started in this heat race. It goes to show sometimes you just be patient, let the race come to you, and you can find yourself in a really good spot. We're actually going to go into that one green-white checkered attempt here in just one moment. We'll rack them up next time by just the biggest movers there on your screen. Again, want to give a quick thanks to our friends at Nazareth for sponsoring all of the caution flags this week. Thanks to those folks over there, the Nazareth 360 Racing Network, for their support of the PGR 500. We're going to get ready to go, and overtime is interesting. And we used several of these attempts in last year's PGR 500. We used more in the SummerSlam 499 last August for a lot of the drivers in this field that raced that event. Overtime is very stressful when there's transfers on the line, because really, when it comes down to it, you only have about a lap and a quarter or so at full speed to really make any moves. Unless you can make something happen in that first half a lap, you're not up to speed until you're bearing down on the white flag on that first lap of overtime.
Yeah, now that we're getting towards the end, you know that some of these guys, likely in the top 4, maybe even back to the top 6, they may not necessarily want to make a move. So you can't expect necessarily somebody towards the front to jump out and make it 3 wide. It's going to have to be one of these guys towards the middle or back portions of the pack that need to get to the front. Obviously, we've seen how aggressive the 88 of Caruth has been so far tonight. That's the name that comes to mind. Chris Otto looked really sporty in that last run. He's got the Chipotle machine. We'll see if he can make that move to the 3rd lane. And then, of course, you go back to JW, Timothy Harper, Jacob Wilkerson. These are guys that have already been at the front so far here tonight. They're close to being in an advancing spot to the LCQs. They've got a lot of work to do if they want to get into the top 5 and have a chance at advancing into the duels.
Well, let's re-rack them for you. One and only one overtime attempt, and it will run all the way out under the green flag. This race will end under green, pending last lap review, of course. Any incidents on this last lap that affect transfer positions will be reviewed, but it will not end under caution. This race will end under green. 10 cars will be moving on to Saturday when all is said and done. Only one attempt at it. It's coming up right here. David Flanagan is your race leader. He's elected the outside lane for this restart. He's got James Bomar to his inside in the 2nd spot. Row 2 is going to be Bryce Rayner on the inside and Kenny McCullough Jr. on the outside. A strong run from McCullough. See if he can finish the deal. On row 3, Josh Newman is in the final dual transfer spot in 5th. To his outside, it's Aaron Roth, the first man that would go to the LCQ if the race ended right now. Row 4 is where you'll find Rajat Karuth on the inside in the 7th spot. It's Chris Otto to his outside in the 8th spot. Row 5 going to be Timothy Harper and J.W. Salyers. So 10 cars in. Everybody else right now, from Andrew Zanto back through the end of the field, is out as of this moment. A couple of cars that are not currently on track, or rather there is one off track and one that is one lap down. Mike Bearden is off track. He has called it a night in 28th. His night and his chances in the PGR 500 are over. Jason Wallet is one lap down. Unfortunately, barring an extreme miracle, his chances likely are over as well. Third caution of the night has been cleaned off the racetrack, and what better way to start this speed week than with an overtime finish in heat race number 1. 2 laps to go. When we make it back to the white flag, this race will be official. Flanagan and Bomar on the front row will lead us back. Green flag is in the air. 2 to go in heat 1. Look at the shot that Kenny McCullough gave David Flanagan. It's going to clear 2, make it 3 cars on the outside. Big move from Bomar. How about that from the 20 to go bottom to top as they work the banking of 1.
Got to be careful here if you're Flanagan. He got way out in front. What will Ken McCullough Jr. do? Looks like he's going to be content with pushing. Aaron Roth now in tow as well. The outside is rolling the first man down. They're going to be the 23 of Harper. Now we're going to see the 20 of Bomar jump down. Everybody shuffling out back. The field's still 2x2, but it's the bottom that's now getting some momentum. Flanagan leads. He's going to jump down to cover. Big block into turn 3.
Yeah, that run came from Bomar. Trouble! Out back, it's Roth. McCullough gets sideways. They're going to collect a bunch of them. The big one erupts in turn 4. Wilkerson, Zanto, Boundy, and others involved. And we're left with only 5. As they get back to the line, we're still going to finish it. White flag is up, presented by Bender's Bar and Grill.
It's going to be a mess for who transfers through to the LCQ, but up front, we're still fighting to decide who is going to win heat race number 1. David Flanagan continues to lead. He's got James Bomar, Harper, Caruth, Rayner all in tow. It'll be the final time that they work on the super stretch, and the question is, who makes the move first? Rayner's going to try to look out, but now it's Caruth who goes first. The 87 will push 3 versus 2 tandem as they're coming down the super stretch into turn 3 for the final time.
Flanagan tried to block Bomar, couldn't do it. Bomar goes to the lead in turn 3. Flanagan's on the inside. Who's got the better push when they get off turn 4? It's a drag race for the ages here in heat number 1. Outside is Bomar, inside is Flanagan. Caruth looks 3 wide. Through the center comes Rajah Caruth, but it's not enough. James Bomar wins heat race number 1 of the PGR 500. It's a mess from 6th on back. Newman's in, Donskoy's in, Ricky is in, Munatsi Major is in, and Jason Dinsmore claims the final transfer spot unofficially.
Yeah, unofficially we might add, because there was so much chaos that went on there over the course of that last couple of, I'd say last lap and a half really. And we'll have to go back and break it all down, and obviously we'll get official word here in a little bit on who race control deems at fault, if anyone, for these incidents. We'll have to see who advances through. I'll tell you what, Dawson, that was an exciting move there at the last second that Rajah Caruth tried to make. Did send Flanagan through the grass, but it looks like he'll be okay. We'll go back and start breaking this down here with the first part of the chaos that broke out. Field together, but a little bit of a checkup. Gets Otto out of line as he tries to correct to get back in line. Turns the 57, and then you know how this goes, Dawson. Everybody in the gas trying to make it through, and those are some big impacts that took out a lot of the cars that were, well, realistically in transfer positions.
It is a huge crash here on the last lap, and one that completely mucks up the entire running order there. And for a lot of guys that were in transfer positions, that's a really tough break for what happens over in turn 1. Bomar does the donuts here on the front stretch. He'll be the first winner of the week. First driver advancing into Friday night's pole shootout. He will get to do some well-earned donuts. A great run for James Bomar, who came in tonight and stole it away from some guys that have run a lot of these kinds of races. Flanagan, Harper, Caruth, and others. And Bomar comes in and steals it out from under their noses. Well, let's get the unofficial results first. Again, pending a last lap review. James Bomar, the win, as we understand, is official. So he will win and move on to the pole shootout and also win a $60 prize. The other man going to the shootout on Friday night, Rajah Caruth. He comes forward to finish second here in heat number 1. He'll advance to the duels and race on Friday night in the pole shootout. Bryce Reiner is going to the duels in the 3rd spot. So too is Timothy Harper in the 23 machine. David Flanagan survives the last lap chaos to get 5th. He'll also be the final man out of heat 1 in dual race number 1 on Saturday. Josh Newman advances to Saturday's LCQ with a 6th place finish. So too does Yaroslav Donskoy. Julian Ricky goes 8th. Munatsi Major, how about the recovery for the 82? Involved in 3 crashes tonight in this first heat. He advances in 9th. Jason Dinsmore involved in our latest caution. He comes through to finish 10th. He'll race on Saturday as well.
And the first man out is going to be Devin Rogers. Isn't quite able to advance. Moving on back to 12th, it's going to be Sean Gopinski. Sean Boundy, your pole sitter here for heat race number 1. He will not advance through to the next round after getting caught up in one of our later cautions of the race. He finishes 13th. It's going to be Dean Ellert finishing in 14th tonight. Jacob Wilkerson, another one of the favorites coming into this event. He finishes in 15th. Jay Cook in 16th. It's going to be J.W. Salyers in 17th. Zachariah Logan finishes in 18th. Christopher Shepard in 19th. And William Johnson rounding out the top 20.
And a couple tough breaks there. Boundy being out surprises me. Wilkerson being out as well. That's some big upsets early in this one. Sean Parrish goes 21st. Unfortunately eliminated tonight. So too is Andrew Zanto. A great run for the 0-6. Ends over in turn 1. Heartbreak for Kenny McCullough Jr., who led much of this opening heat. He gets collected, and he's out, as well as Chris Otto. Aaron Roth eliminated in 25th. Jason Wallet in 26th, never recovered from what we assume to be a blown motor into the 26th spot. Unfortunately, tonight's Heat 1 sponsor, Mark Vondell, he'll go home as well in 27th. And it's Bearden going home there in 28th, involved in that last caution flag. Well, we have an opportunity now to get to talk really quickly before we transition to heat number 2 to the winner of heat race number 1, who came in here and stole it right out from under the noses of some of Super Speedway Racing's best. It's the 20 of James Bomar that gets the job done here in heat number 1. We get a chance to talk to him now in PGR 500 heat race victory lane. James, it's the boys in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, how about that for heat race number 1? An exciting one. You know, kind of clarified itself for you guys at the front. It turned into 5 cars for 5 dual spots where you could really focus on the win. A last lap scramble gives you an opportunity to look for the win. Take us through the last lap here at heat race number 1.
It was a blur. The moment I saw everybody start wrecking in the top 5, we started leaving P6. I focused. I took her down and focused on the win, trying to do what I could to get it. And I'm glad I didn't wreck myself trying to go for the win. I'm really happy I didn't do that. I'm really happy I put myself in that spot to be able to go for the win. I'm honestly I'm shaking like really bad right now. My adrenaline's through the roof.
Well, look, we talk about that coming into this week, the adrenaline, the jitters, the nerves that drivers face before an event like this. And, you know, obviously to hear that come from you, it's obviously pretty reflective of those nerves. Take me through, kind of what it felt like being on track tonight for the first time this week, kind of getting your feet wet in this PGR 500. Take me through what it was like to race against some of the best. I mean, we've talked about McCullough and Flanagan being, constant super speedway racers, and the experience that guys like Donskoy and Harper have. And obviously right there, I mean, you're door-to-door with Rajah Caruth, who'll be in the NASCAR O'Reilly Series this year. Just take me through what that was like for you as a driver here in heat race number 1.
To be honest, it's a familiar feel. I feel like I race these guys all the time. Most of the guys, anyways, a lot of the higher profile. I race Rajah pretty often. I love racing with him. He's great to race with. It's the nerves. I want to say I was pretty calm till the final lap. It was all business. It was normal. It felt the same as always. But the moment I came out of turn 4, it's like my feelings just shot. They were shot out. It was like it's like the moment I went to the outside, I knew what was going to happen. I felt confident I was going to win it off of 4, and I won it.
Confidence goes a long way in a race, an event like this, and you move on. Not only do you move on, you win a little cash prize, but also, more importantly, you're not only locked into Saturday afternoon's dual race, you're now going to be able to race in the pole shootout Friday night for a chance to start on the front row on Sunday afternoon. Take us through your game plan for the rest of the week as you prepare to race your way into the Great American Sim Race.
I think the best thing I can do is just watch the streams, stuff like that. Watch all the drivers, see how they race, see who I'm going to be racing, and just get a game plan for how they race and how I'll race them. Try to make some friends, not have any enemies, for one.
Well, we're looking forward to it. It's a win for you here in heat race number 1, though. So before we let you go and start to get prepped for later in the week to try to race your way into Sunday afternoon's feature, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Shout out Jacob Wilkerson. He got wrecked, but shout out to him. He was my teammate in this race. I was so happy to race with him. Shout out Adam Garza for giving me a chance to do this event. Shout out everyone on PGR for letting me be able to race this event on last notice. And shout out Shout out PBR, shout out ECE, and shout out EPI. Thanks to all those guys.
Well, appreciate you for talking to us for a minute. Congratulations on the win here in Heat 1. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. We'll see you later in the week for the pole shootout and dual race number 1 on Saturday.
Thank you.
James Bomar, the winner of Heat race number 1 of the PGR 500. And we will start to transition now over to Heat race number 2. It's coming up right after this. About 12 minutes from right now is when that one will go on track. We're ready to go to put 10 more drivers into Saturday's affairs. And if this one is any indication, I'll tell you what, Austin, we are in for a treat. I said tonight that the first Heat race, these first 2 would set the tone for the week. And boy, if this first one was any indication, we are in for an electrifying week of racing.
Yeah, it's been an exciting start to the road to the PGR 500, but it was interesting because the first half of Heat Race 1 was kind of on the tame side. It seemed like everybody was getting a feel for the car, a feel for who they could work with, but man, once we got a couple of cautions there late, it got really, really aggressive, and of course that big wreck on the last lap, taking out some of the favorites, moving a couple of underdog picks in. That's going to make it exciting as we go into Saturday for the LCQ and duels. But of course, Dawson, we've got so many more heat races to go, and it just seems like drivers obviously watching the heats that come before the ones that they have to race in. And I'm sure we'll see a couple of notes and maybe a couple of adjustments based off what guys saw here throughout heat race number 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys are writing everything down in their mental notebooks as they get ready to go for their heat races later on in the week. Really quickly, before we take this short break, we do want to thank our sponsors one more time for the event. That Towing Company, Chris Carter Racing and the Flying Aces, as well as NBG Motorsports for their support of the PGR 500. But specifically here for heat race number 1, Mark Vondell Racing. Thank you, Mark, for your support of PGR eSports and the money racing community and all that you have done. Unfortunately, Mark's run comes to an end tonight, but certainly good to see Mark out here this week throughout the PGR 500 event, and appreciate what he does for all of us in the community as a whole. We're going to take a short break now. We'll step aside for a few moments here on PGR eSports. We'll be right back for heat race number 2 coming up here from Daytona for the PGR 500. More big names to come on track in about 10 minutes from right now. You won't want to miss it. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back for more action from the World Center of Racing.
When you're looking for a setup and a community that stands behind it. Team Watson Racing Setups. Serious setups. For drivers who are done guessing.
Heat number 1 set the tone for us just a few minutes ago for what to expect as we enter now heat race number 2. The 2026 PGR 500, the second annual Great American Sim Race. Heat 1 coming off the track just a few moments ago. It's now time to transition over to the second heat race and the final one of this opening night here as we enter a long and busy week of racing. Really quickly before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors, That Towing Company, Chris Carter Racing, Flying Aces, NBG Motorsports as well for their sponsorship of the PGR 500 and PGR eSports as a whole. A long-standing relationship with a couple of different sponsors there for PGR eSports and company. Specifically here in heat race number 2, I want to thank our friends at VRX Advanced Motion Simulators. Precision built and fueled by imagination, VRX delivers advanced motion simulators for location-based entertainment, safety solutions, and more. VRX Advanced Motion Simulators, where innovation meets immersion. So thanks to our friends at VRX for their sponsorship, specifically here for heat race number 2. We welcome you again high above the virtual World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway, for heat race number 2. Again, I am Dawson Wise. Glad to have you along for the ride with us throughout this entire week, what should be a fun one. I'll tell you what, as we get into this one, joining me in the booth once again, it's my co-host Austin Green. What's the Intimidator Super Speedway Series? Austin, heat 1 had it all. Crashes, chaos, a last lap scramble. At the end of the day, some guys are still in it than we expected, and some guys are going home.
Yeah, disappointments and underdog victories is going to be the name of the game all week here in these heats. But we are back at beautiful Daytona Beach, Florida, here in Daytona International Speedway. 31 degrees of banking in the corners here. That's one of the things that makes it so unique. On top of the fact that it's 2.5 miles, and we see speeds here over 200 miles an hour. The track opened back in the late 1950s, Dawson. We've seen so many great races since then. Obviously, the real-life Daytona 500 held here. And this week, one of the biggest sim racing events, the PGR 500, will crown a new champion.
Yeah, the biggest event in PGR eSports history, the PGR 500, the second annual running of the Great American Sim Race. There you see our schedule. We are in heat number 2, up there in the top left of that graphic. Heats 3, 4, and 5 to come tomorrow night right back here on PGR eSports, and then you kind of see the pattern. Heats 6 through 8 on Wednesday night. Heats 9, 10, and 11 on Thursday night. And then, of course, Friday we'll have one final preliminary heat race right before we get into the second half of the schedule and where things really get grueling for some drivers. Friday night, it will be the pole shootout race at 10 o'clock. 24 drivers will race for the spots on the front row, and Sunday afternoon's feature that will set the first and second starting spots. Unlike qualifying last year, it'll be set by a pole shootout dash race this year. Last chance qualifier events there early on Saturday afternoon will set the field for the dual races Saturday evening. Sure to be two of the best races of the weekend before, of course, the granddaddy of them all, the PGR 500, Sunday afternoon at noon. We're looking forward to all of the racing this week. A lot of great racing to come. 30 laps in length, 100% fuel, one green-white checkered, and there is one fast repair. And I'll tell you what, that came into play in the last race. A number of drivers utilized that one quick reset, if you will, in the pits that allows them to stay on the racetrack and compete. A fixed setup from Team Watson Racing Setups is on board these next-gen race cars. As we transition to live, it's time to go down trackside and give you the field for heat race number 2 here at the Daytona International Speedway, as we will send 10 more drivers on to Saturday and wrap up what has been an exciting first night of racing. On the pole for heat race number 2, by virtue of his qualifying time, a 50.142-second lap. One of the young upstarts in the money racing community. He started second in the SummerSlam 499, looking to continue his momentum. It's Wyatt Gray in car number 18. To his outside, it's the newly rebranded PGR 500 entry, the number 74 for Team PGR. It's Brian Hennings, the VRX colors as well, in the second spot. On row 2, Craig Jancic, a longtime sim racer, joins the PGR 500 field this year. He'll go from position number 3. It is Adam Garza that goes to his outside in position number 4, a starter in last year's SummerSlam 499. Back on row number 3, it's Brandon Cattell. Raced last year in the PGR 500. He'll try once more this time around. He'll go from 5th. It's Jason Branch to his outside, carrying the U.S. Navy tonight in the 6th position. Row 4, going to be Landon Velicky for the Jack Shack. One of my fellow broadcasters during the week, but taking his chance at the PGR 500 here this time around. He'll go from 7th. Beautiful new paint scheme aboard that Jack Shack entry. And Peyton Tulloch will go to his outside in the 8th position. And rounding out the top 10, it'll be Jacob Dunn starting in 9th, and Colby Nill, another one of the young upstarts in money racing, he'll go from position number 10.
And the guys who are going to be starting outside of the transfer positions in 11th, Kyle Urbanek to his outside is going to be one of the PGR regulars, Hunter Hastings in the number 44. Cale McClenny, we saw him have a couple of good runs throughout the recruitment races leading up to this event. He'll roll off from the inside of row number 7, and it's going to be Brandon Johnston to his outside in 14th. Going on back to row number 8, it's going to be one of the Canadian drivers in the field, Conan Mickey. He'll start from the inside of row number 8, and to his outside is going to be, and excuse me for just a moment here, got the timing briefly messed up, Bryce Dullabon in the number 28. Going on back to the next row in 17th, it's going to be Eric Sawyers to Cody McCormick, starting to his outside in 18th. And rounding out the top 20 here tonight is going to be Chase Rockford and Zachary King.
Zach King, one of the upstarts from the recruitment races, really put on a show in those races, looking to make his way into the PGR 500. Row 11, Ted Lisby in the all-green 44 will go from 21st to his outside. Zach Domer in car number 14, the bright pink Rogue Energy Machine. Row 12, it's Jet Miller in the all-black 67. Alongside him, it's Kyle Lawver in car number 91. Back on row number 13, Michael Lockwood will go from 25th. It'll be Sterling Thest to his outside in the 26, making his PGR return. The white and red 41 Toyota Camry. And on the final row here for heat race number 2, Adolfo Delgado, one of the stories of last year's PGR 500, made a deep run into that race, looking to do so again here in 2026. He'll go from 27th. It's Brandon McKee that will go from 28th position. 28 cars, 10 spots available. 5 will go to the duels. Of course, we just saw the top 5 advance from Heat 1 into the duels. 6th through 10th positions will go to the last chance qualifiers on Saturday afternoon. Everyone else will see their journey end tonight in this heat race. Big time stakes on night 1 of the PGR 500. A reminder, the top 2 finishers go to the Friday night pole shootout race. Back from race number 1, that's James Bomar and Rajah Caruth that claim the first 2 spots in that race on Friday night. 2 more will go there. 10 more will live to race another day. Everyone else's dreams will be crushed on this first night. Let's find out who. Green flag is in the air. We're racing in heat number 2.
'28 V8s roaring to life off of turn 2, down on the super stretch for the first time in heat race number 2. The man up front, Brian Hennings for VRX, currently leading the way here at the World Center of Racing. Wyatt Gray on the inside, trying to get a run back as they climb the banking into turn 3. No third lane just yet. Everybody just now getting up to full pace. And if you look further back, Cody McCormick, Eric Sawyers, these are guys that are going to be potentially looking to move up early. But right now, they're 2x2 at the front with 1 lap in the book here in heat race 2.
A little bit surprising after heat number 1. Saw that third lane get racy early with guys like Rajah Caruth trying to go up to the safer barrier. This heat a little bit more tame early as Hennings controls both lanes. He'll go top to bottom now up front. The bumper of Wyatt Gray. Those two know each other well. Regulars in the PGR eSports scene on Thursday nights and across promotions. They'll now go nose to tail here down the back straightaway. They've got Jancic with them. Craig Jancic, a multi-time PGR Crown Jewel starter, trouble out back. Multiple cars go spinning up the end of the back straightaway. Veliky is one of them in the 62. He goes sideways. A couple of others involved. Colby Nill is one of those cars. There's another car that slides to a stop on the entrance of turn 3, and already on lap 2, it's carnage, and a couple of heavy hitters are involved.
And this one, in kind of a surprising area, usually 2x2 down the super stretch. A pretty tame way to be, especially this early on in the race. And I know we'll get a replay in just a moment here, Dawson, but that is big damage to the 31 car. I mean, talked about having that one fastest pair, and that's going to be kind of the lifeline here that potentially keeps, I believe that was Colby Nill, still in contention. Let's go back and get a look at it here as they're coming down the backstretch. This looks like Nill maybe gets darted out of line. I think it's another stack-up effect. He's getting pushed by the 44 of Hastings. They're kind of checking up in front of him, and he's got nowhere to go. He briefly gets into the back of the 17. That turns him down the track, and as he gets into Veliky, Dawson, that's what ultimately sends the 31 back up the track. Big hit for Nill, and then everybody's got to scatter to try to miss him.
A couple of hits here for cars out back. Zach King is one of those race cars. Trying to see who that purple and green car is as well. There's one other car that is involved in this towards the tail end of the field. It gets a piece of those two right there at the end. They got a piece of Veliky into the 62. You're on board now with Jet Miller. He was towards the tail end of the field. You're going to see it erupt in front of him. Dives to the inside, luckily gets away. This is the part that's so nerve-wracking, though, is trying to get back up on the banking when you're still in the gas going over 100 miles an hour. But everybody back here disciplined enough to get back on the banking and hold their cars underneath them and continue forward. So multiple cars involved, 3 of them that I saw for sure. There's 4 involved. Again, could not for the life of me tell who that last car was that got a piece of this incident. It was a purple and yellow car towards the back of the field. It gets a piece of it here early on lap number 2. So we go back live. If you're just joining us, the caution flag is out for the first time tonight. It's powered by the Nazareth 6 Hours of Le Mans, March 7th. 6 hours of strategy, teamwork, and endurance only on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network. So appreciate our friends at Nazareth for their sponsorship of the PGR 500. Again, they had their event a couple of weeks ago. It's a fun race to get to sit back and watch, or we got to work on our own 500-miler. A lot of drivers you'll see tonight or over this next week were in that race a couple of weeks ago. So a lot of guys already have 500-plus miles under their belts. A lot now are getting their first run in this PGR 500. Brian Hennings continues to lead. You see a number of cars coming down pit road. Veliky, Dunn, Nil, Hastings, and King. So it may have been Jacob Dunn. It was the other car I saw get a piece of this as he comes off of pit road. So a number of cars involved. I can tell you 2 cars as of right now are not on the speedway and have not taken a lap. Adolfo Delgado in the 27th current scoring position, and Brandon McKee did not start tonight's heat race. As of now, they are out. We'll see if that changes later on in this second heat race. As guys come off pit road, looks like everybody's going to be okay. We're looking there at Landon Veliky as he comes off pit road in that 62. So everybody seems to have gotten back to pit road and gotten the damage fixed, including Colby Nil. He continues to sit there, but he did wheel that car back to pit road. In heat race number 1, we had about 5 laps of green flag racing before this happened. We only had 2 here in heat race number 2. For the guys that were nervous coming in, Austin, I can't imagine this does much for the nerves of these guys inside the cockpits of these race cars.
Yeah, it can't, especially because they stayed 2 by 2, so nobody really got a chance to get up there and get racy. The guys that were at the front and obviously not involved in this incident are probably okay with this early caution. But, you know, going back to a guy like Landon Veliky, who you talked about obviously being involved in that wreck, having to go in and get a little bit of damage repaired, he's no stranger to winning in these next-gen cars. So if you are looking for somebody to try to work with to get back to the front, you have to keep an eye on that 62. Zachary King, Colby Nil, you know, they're going to be aggressive here and trying to get back to the front, but got some big movers here early, Dawson. Talk about Bryce Dullabon. He's currently up 6 positions from where he started this race at. Cale McClenny and Brandon Johnson both up a handful of spots from where they started the race. And as I think the lights will go off on the pace car this time, can't forget about Brian Hennings. He qualified 2nd, and he is now currently leading the way here at Daytona.
Yeah, Hennings a guy I think that's going to fly under the radar this week for a lot in terms of, you know, he's not the Daniel Falkingham, Malik Ray, Zach Novak type of flashy name. Rajah Caruth comes to mind as well, of guys you know their name, they're pros, everybody in the iRacing community knows who they are. Brian Hennings is not one of those guys, but Hennings is very good at this style of draft racing. The next gen, going back to when it was the old next gen aero package, the Gen 6, the ARCA car, that very tandem style, push draft style of racing. Hennings, it's right in his wheelhouse, and he's leading early. No surprise to many of us that know Brian from the regular scene over here at PGR eSports. Wyatt Gray is another one. Again, he's not necessarily the Daniel Falkingham type. Falkingham's the defending winner of this race, or the Malik Ray, the back-to-back SummerSlam 499 champion. You know, guys like that are going to stick out, where Wyatt Gray, he started 2nd in that SummerSlam 499. He ran up front quite a bit in that race, got through most of last year's PGR 500 event as well, and is a winner on the PGR eSports scene. So that's another guy I think that will fly under the radar just a tad, again, compared to some of the flashier names you'll see this week. There is a lot of talent in this field this week, and 2 of those guys currently lead this opening heat race, the second heat race, rather. So it'll be Hennings that brings the field back to green. Of course, Wyatt Gray will line up alongside him. Craig Jancic and Adam Garza are back on road number 2. New look for Garza in this PGR 500 compared to last year's look for the 8. Row 3, Brandon Cattell. He's another guy that's got a ton of experience that, you know, I definitely look for to be successful. He started last year and ran up front and led some laps, so he's got experience in this event also. Jason Branch is back there on row 4, on row 3. Peyton Tullett, Cale McClenny, Brandon Johnston, Bryce Dullaban will bring the field back to green as the top 10. Caution number 1 cleaned off the racetrack. Hennings and Gray will bring the field back into the restart zone. It is still 25 laps remaining in this second heat race. 26 on track, looking for 10 spots total. Green flag back in the air. We're off to the races towards the banking of turn 1. And much like Kenny McCullough in heat race number 1, Hennings got a really good jump that time. He'll jump to the bottom, and Jancic looks in his mirror and sees that Brandon Cattell has abandoned him as well. It's all Jancic by himself. Back to McClenny up top.
Craig Jancic, one of the guys who works a lot with Bryce Rayner. We saw his teammate advance through in heat race 1. Now he's trying to do the same in heat race 2. Cale McClenny quick to the back bumper though. The 07 now pushing the 97. Down the super stretch, side by side though up front, through the back of the field. Nobody pulling out of line just yet. And as they rocket into turn 3, most cars going to be up to just about full pace by now. Single file for the first 3, but now the question is, if you're Cattell, if you're Garza, do you jump out of line here and try to go to the front?
Yeah, not really sure where Cattell's going to go here for now. He stays on the bottom. Again, a veteran, seasoned driver on these super speedways. Cattell is a student of the game. He runs 4th right now in behind the Adam Garza machine. And again, it's kind of turning into heat race number 1. Remember back to the opening laps of that first heat race when the outside lane started to bail and started to go backwards with Jason Wallet. It's doing so again. It's allowed the top 7 to get clear up front back to Brandon Johnston. And now more cars coming clear. Tulloch, Johnston, and another may get clear on the bottom. Conan Mickey trying to get that spot as well as they rocket into turn number 3.
And this outside, it's just going to continue to die until they're able to finally get probably 2 to 3 cars at least connected. You see the 07 though, Cale McClenny, he's trying to make the effort by himself to get this outside, going back to the front. Here comes Bryce Dolabon. He'll give a shot now to the back of the 07. Third lane coming through the middle. One car going to get hung out to dry. It looks like further back, that may have been the 17 up front though. As we continue on here, Dawson, these guys will start to pick it up just a little bit. It'll be 22 laps to go next time. Still too wide at the front, but you notice now, Cattell has led this outside just about back to the front, and now it's the 97 of Jancic doing the pushing.
Oh, bit of a scramble up front here. Wyatt Gray and Brian Hennings got disconnected at the front of the field. That's going to break that bottom lane up. Gray has no choice but to keep going forward as Garza pushes him through on the bottom. Hennings got stuck in the middle as a couple cars go outside of him to try to let him have some breathing room in that middle lane. That vaults Brandon Cattell to the race lead in heat race number 2. Craig Jancic is the car with him. Then it's Gray and Garza on the bottom, and Jason Branch says thank you very much. He takes the 5th spot. How about the aggression from Adam Garza? Garza to the top side in front of McClenny. Third lane, by the way, is about 5 cars back of that, as Eric Salyers is one of those cars for sure. The 83 is the other one. That's Kyle Urbanek that leads that line up top against the safer barrier. But here comes the middle. Monster run on the outside. Garza goes to the point of the push from McClenny, and they may get 3, almost 4 cars clear down here to turn 3.
You want to talk about a guy who knows how to get it done on super speedways. Adam Garza is your driver, over 9,000 I rating, and we've seen him up the front at a lot of previous 500 events before. Here he is leading it in heat race number 2, coming to 21 laps to go. Single file for the first 3, and now if you're the 07 of Cale McClenny, got to make a decision. The 8 of Garza, though, is going to jump up. Oh, man, big move. Hennings tried to split him. Garza covers, and they'll stay 2x2 as they rocket into turn number 1. The 80 of Cattell further back now finds himself trapped in Dawson. With this second lane rolling as good as it is, I got to think it's just a matter of time before somebody tries to jump out and make it 3 wide.
You would think so, especially with the bottom starting to go backwards. Guys that are on the bottom are going to cycle to the back of the field, jump all the way up to the middle, and then try to go to the safer barrier. Boy, look at this lead that Brian Hennings has, and it's by virtue of the push from Landon Velicki. He was just involved in a crash a few moments ago. Now he's gone to second. He wants the lead. Landon Velicki for the Jack Shack up around the outside. He'll take the point from Hennings. He's got help from Garza. One other car up there as well. That's Jacob Dunn. Dunn and Velicki were in the pits a moment ago fixing their damage. Now they're first and third on the outside as the field works back down to turn 1. Dunn turns left. He'll bring Chet Miller with him. Miller to the front for the first time. The All Black 67 car on the bottom side. They're going to go 2x2 here into 1, but the push is better up top. Velicki with a veteran Garza on the outside. Now coming forward on the outside is Hastings, a veteran trio on the outside lane, leading that lane down the super stretch.
And these guys really starting to push the limits now. The TWRS setup on board these next-gen cars. The tandem really starting to work now. Up front, Garza finally going to have to back off so that he can cool the engine down on that number 8 Ford Mustang. Landon Velicki, though, as mentioned, was in the back from that last caution. Here he is back at the front, and what's this? We got a pit stop? No. A couple cars bailed off. We've got one with an issue here, and I believe that may have been Jet Miller, Dawson. The 67 is spun out just before the pits.
He's expired his motor, the 67, and Jet Miller on the push on the bottom side of Jacob Dunn has blown the engine on board that 67 and was unable to roll that car to his pit box. He has to tow and will need a slight miracle now to continue his run in this PGR 500. You saw him spin to a stop. He's gone to his pit box. Unfortunately for Jet Miller now, he needs some help from the guys on track. That created a bit of a break, by the way, in this lead pack. They're 3 wide, back about 10 rows deep in the field, and what it's done is it created a run here up front. Zach King to the outside. He'll bring one car with him. Now the caution's out, trouble out back.
This will be the second caution here in heat race number 1. This could potentially be a break for Jet Miller, as we've got one car down in the grass over here, I believe. It's not Colby Nill this time. It's actually Michael Lockwood in the 96. Looks like maybe a little bit of nose damage there to the front end of his Chevy Camaro, but overall not too bad. So he'll get rolling on the apron. Maybe going to have to take it to the pits for some repairs, but it's going to set us up for another restart. Let's go back and take a look at what happened here. Racing through the middle of the pack, and he was stuck right on the outside line here, and you see him starting to play ping pong up front, but it's actually as the 80 of Cattell looks to go to the outside. They end up getting 4 wide, and it's just kind of another one of those situations, Dawson, where everybody runs out of room. It didn't look like they were really planning on getting 4 wide, and I think for the 91 right there of Kyle Lawver, just really nothing he could do. The 96 was trying to fight for a little bit of room, but they just eventually ran out of real estate.
Yeah, you're going to see it right here, and Lawver's taking the gap that's there, and instead of lifting, giving Lockwood a break, perhaps tries to fill that gap and keep his position moving forward. Track position's been so important in this race car since the aerodynamics update we got a few weeks ago that unfortunately there Lockwood tries to cover. The speed difference is too big. Lawver gets into the left rear of Lockwood, and around went the 96 of Michael Lockwood. So he's really the only one that is involved in this second caution flag of the night. So not a ton of damage either. Honestly, got away pretty well unscathed there. He had some front end damage, did the 96 for a moment, but all things considered, that could have gone a lot worse. He does have that fast repair, but I can understand wanting to save it after what we saw just a few moments ago with guys like Landon Veliky and Jacob Dunn. So we get back to live action. We're almost at the halfway point here in heat race number 2 as Landon Veliky continues to lead the way over Adam Garza. Hunter Hastings is 3rd. Jacob Dunn is 4th. Zachary King, a guy I had my eye on coming into this event, he is 5th. Brandon Johnston 6th. Sterling Thess 7th. The pole sitter, or rather the outside pole sitter, Brian Hennings, is 8th. Cale McClenny is 9th. And Kyle Urbanik is up to 10th. Thess, by the way, plus 19. Zachary King plus 15. Hastings plus 9. That's all guys inside transfer positions right now. I do want to thank all of those that have come out to watch tonight's first 2 heats. I want to thank those that are using the chat. There are way too many of you for me to shout out individually, but do appreciate the activity in the chat. It's been a lot of fun. Kind of glance down every now and then and get to read the reactions of the viewers as things happen on the racetrack. But do appreciate all of you for coming out. Really nice audience here for heat race number 1 and heat race number 2 as we begin with night 1 of the PGR 500. A fun week of racing ahead, and tonight is just the tip of the iceberg. 4 more nights of heat racing. The pole shootout race is Friday night. Saturday is an all-day marathon, LCQs, and dual races that will set the field and set the stage for Sunday afternoon's PGR 500. A fun week ahead. Happy to have you with us here as we get into the action and, again, kind of break into this week. The first 2 of 12 heat races is only the start of what should be a really fun week of racing. And as we get ready to go with 16 laps to go here in heat race number 2, the cream has kind of risen to the top. Adam Garza, Landon Veliky, Hunter Hastings, Zachary King, Brian Hennings, Cale McClenny. When we talked about the experience in heat 1, it's risen to the top here in heat 2 as well. Some guys have had some adversity. You talked about Veliky and Dunn and others, but eventually those guys were going to find their way back up front, and they have here with 17 to go.
Yeah, and Dawson, you just mentioned so much excitement this week, and I did want to take a chance to mention, you got to think about what it would mean for so many of these guys to make it to the feature on Sunday. We're starting out here with 336 drivers. By the time we get to Sunday, only going to be about 42 or 43 that are actually racing for that $3,000 and to be crowned a PGR 500 champion. Now, turning back to the attention on the racetrack, I did want to note here for Landon Veliky, who continues to lead, we had a chance to talk with some of the Jack Shack drivers throughout this week, and they said they'd been watching a lot of film, learned a couple of things, and the 62 must be utilizing all of the things that they learned because he has got himself back up front. Didn't take him long to get there after that first caution, and we are right at about the halfway point here in heat race number 1. So if you're Veliky, I think it's time to start being really aggressive here to try to maintain this lead. But Garza, a couple of these other guys up front, Jacob Dunn, they have all been working really good together, and kind of in these two-car tandems. Be interesting to see how they try to make it work further back for the guys that are near the final transfer spots. I look towards Craig Janzak, Cale McClenny, Zach Dahmer. These are guys that are just kind of barely on the outside trying to get in here, and still enough time to do it. But at the same time, Dawson, 15 laps can go by in a hurry here, especially if we get another caution or two.
That would cut easily 4 to 5 laps off the race distance if we get another yellow flag in the last 15 laps. So not a lot of time indeed. If you're back around the transfer positions or further outside of them, you've got to start planning and making those moves now. I want to go back to what you noted about the Jack Shack cars. There are going to be a number of them that you see with very similar branding on board their race cars this week throughout these heat races. Veliky is the second of the various Jack Shack drivers you'll see this week. And they've been on some momentum here over the course of the last couple weeks as speed weeks have gone on. Of course, we just saw David Flanagan finish top 5 in his heat race a moment ago, so he gets to race in the duels on Saturday as he gets that team off to a good start. Veliky here leading the way in heat number 2. But remember, Trevor Osmernaut won the final recruitment race the other night that we got to broadcast back on Wednesday. So Trevor Osmernaut's on a bit of a heater as well. A number of those cars in that stable feeling really good, really confident coming into this week. We talked about how much film they've watched. They also have a lot of momentum on their side coming to Daytona this week. We'll keep an eye on them. Of course, Landon Veliky would love to make it 2 for 2 for that group out of the first 2 heats. That'd be a pretty good start for that stable looking to make the PGR 500. 15 laps to go. There are 27 other gentlemen that would like to deny Landon Veliky that opportunity in this second heat race. Veliky will lead them back into the restart zone. Green flag is in the air. How about that jump by Hunter Hastings on the bottom? Similar to the push that Kenny McCullough gave earlier. We saw one of the last restarts. Hastings going to push Veliky clear to the lead. All of a sudden, they all are going to jump to the top side. Zach King is left almost by his lonesome on the bottom. He's got Thess and McClenny coming to his aid. A couple cars trying to fill the gaps. Man, that outside got busy in a hurry.
Yeah, Jacob Dunn's going to have a decision here, too. Does he split through wide up top, or does he stay where he runs right now? Looks like he's going to roll right up to the back bumper of Garza. He's content to push for now, but this outside slowly starting to fade to the inside. Garza's going to be the first man to actually establish position, and as he moves to the inside, Veliky will continue to lead, but there's the big push from Zachary King, the 51, trying to get tandemed up here with Adam Garza as they work through turn 3 and 4. As they come to the line, it's going to be 14 laps to go. And the field still staying 2 by 2 all the way towards the back. A couple of names, Dawson, that are going to have to start moving up very soon if they want a shot at it. Jason Branch, Eric Sawyers, Brandon Cattell. Cattell actually trying to make it 3 wide, but he doesn't have any help. He'll tuck back down in line in front of Wyatt Gray. Up front, though, Veliky continues to lead off of turn 2.
Yeah, Cattell and Wyatt Gray are the 2 outside the transfer positions right now that I'm definitely looking at. Craig Jansick is outside those spots as well, and Brian Hennings hangs in the balance right around that 10th position. So a number of heavy-hitting cars that we look for in the second heat are currently in danger of not making the Saturday afternoon races, and their runs ending tonight. Outside lane continues to be led by Hastings. You see this 2-car tandem. Veliky and Garza did this earlier. They get it to work again. That drags that bottom line way out clear of the outside lane led by Hastings. King's going to take the run, though. He moves to the outside. How about the block by Veliky? He's got to try to cover this back down. Boy, some huge grace given there by Zach King. Veliky able to cover back down across the nose of the 51. Garza, that allows him to jump alongside Veliky for the race lead. As Veliky covered that move, I'll tell you what, Austin, that may have been a bit of a grace for survival given there by Zach King. It keeps both their races alive.
Yeah, risk versus reward. Veliky is going for the reward right now, but the 51 going to find a way to the inside. Zachary King looking for the lead into turn 3, but he's not going to be able to get it. Further back, you notice that third lane very slowly trying to get formed up. Brandon Cattell and Wyatt Gray getting tandem together, but they're going to need a little bit more help for that line to start rolling to the front. We still have 12 laps to go here at Daytona. Veliky continues to lead. Will Hunter Hastings make a move, or does he continue to push?
It feels like those 2 are working together, at least on some form here in this second heat race. They timed up that start pretty well on the last restart, so maybe a temporary alliance between those 2 cars in this second heat race. The bottom lane gets the run through turns 1 and 2, so Veliky has to abandon his draft partner for now, but boy, he abandoned him to go to the help of Zach King. No grace given this time. Zach King to the outside. He wants to lead for the first time, but that will team up Landon Veliky and Adam Garza on the bottom side. 2 guys that have pushed all the way to the front already once in this race. Again, they will team up here on the bottom. King on the outside. He'll nose ahead of Veliky here on the exit of turn number 4. First time it's the pink and white Ford Mustang of Zachary King that goes to the lead in heat race number 2 on the push from Hunter Hastings. Jacob Dunn is there, so too is Brandon Johnston in that outside lane for even the all-gold race car, 4th in line. King thought about going to the bottom. The bottom's not quite to them yet. Out back, it starts to get interesting. How about 3 wide, 15 rows deep in the field? Guys are starting to try it, but not much help up there. Certainly not what we saw in the first race. And I'll tell you what, Zach King's going to start lane managing up front. Pied Piper at Daytona. Zach King back to 3.
Delabon got spit out there in the 3rd lane as they were going through the tribal last lap. He fades all the way to the back of the field. The 31 of Colby Nail up top as well. He's going to get shuffled to the back, but it is Zachary King who leads here at Daytona. They're going to be coming to just 10 laps to go, and as the 51 leads, where does the 44 go? Landon Veliky on the bottom in the 62. They might pull a couple cars clear. Now the 33 is going to have a decision. If you're Jacob Dunn, do you go to the bottom or do you stay up top? No 3rd lane just yet. King continues to lead. Veliky trying to get a run on the bottom.
Yeah, but Adam Garza has to cool that number 8 machine off. His engine is running hot, and he's not been able to push Landon Veliky like he was earlier in the run when they tandem away from the field. Now he gets back to him and starts to push again, but again, halfway down the back straightaway, he's got a lift, but not a lot of separation between Hunter Hastings and Zach King means the inside's going to be able to prevail again here into 3. Veliky back alongside Hastings, King down to cover just for a moment because I think the push will be better here off turn 4 to the outside lane with Hastings, although now Jacob Dunn starts to lean out of line. Maybe temperature is becoming an issue for him. Veliky clear on the bottom of the 3rd lane, tried again back around Jason Branch. It just is not getting the numbers. Now it might. Branch, Lawver, Doulaban going to try it again up the outside as King blocks the run in the middle of Hunter Hastings. Veliky alongside him for the lead. Push is better up top. Fresh temps for Hunter Hastings as King maintains the lead. How about the performance so far from Zach King? One of the underdog picks coming into this heat. Leads the way with 9 laps to go.
He's picked up almost 20 positions from where he started this race at. Hunter Hastings is up over 10 as well. Jacob Dunn, though, Brandon Johnson, these guys have been consistently inside the top 5 for much of the night. Whoa, watch out. Big contact right there between the 44 and the 33. Hunter Hastings was able to catch it, but that was almost another big incident here at Daytona. Further back, Wyatt Grace on the checkup, trying to take advantage. He'll go 3 wide again with Delabon as they try to make their journey to the front. The 51 of King, though, still leading on the high side.
Well, not for long, though. Here comes Dunn on the inside on the push from now. The fresh temps of Landon Veliky, so it's Dunn to the lead for the first time. The blue and black 33. He'll go to the point. Veliky will go to second, and is pushing for all he's worth. Almost 4 wide out back around the 54, as now Chancik leads the outside. All of a sudden, we have a big-time train on the outside safer barrier. Chancik, Gray, Cattell, 3 of the best in this second heat. Up the outside trying to make it work. They're up to about the 12th position, but that's as far as they've gotten. Off turn 4, Veliky goes back to the lead. Zach King trying to turn left. Zach King trying to turn right. That may be dangerous as Veliky blocks in the middle. King may get hung out with Veliky hanging on to the middle. Zach King with a mistake. He's going to door slam Landon Veliky. And like a short track on a Saturday night, they're going to get together. We almost try 4 wide as the outside arrives on the scene. Jancic, Gray, Cattell have arrived. They'll now have to push Zach King. Gray jumps out of line. It's chaos from 5th on. Back trouble. Around go a couple cars. Johnston's in it. Multiple cars spinning to the inside. It'll draw the caution. Thess, Johnston, Domer around. Caution with 7 to go.
And that looked like a very, very massive case of netcode. I saw a car go completely through another one. Be interesting to go back and look at this, Dawson, but this is going to set us up for now another late race restart similar to what we saw in Heat 1. And man, this is going to be a very interesting replay. Check this out here as we'll go back to right around the backstretch. That's where this actually played out. You see the 9 car right there, Brandon Johnston. Watch as they come off the corner here. No issues there. You see the push, but then watch as the 9 gets kind of stuck together here with Sterling Thess right there. See how that car was about halfway inside of Thess's 41 machine? I don't think anything anybody did wrong right there. That was just a very interesting case of, again, some massive netcode between these two. Here's the onboard view. See the bumper push rather to the 44 Hastings, and then maybe a little bit of contact there initially to the right rear, Dawson, but overall, that didn't really look like anything of the driver's causing.
That is an unbelievable save, too, by Johnston to keep that car off the inside wall. I believe Thess was also able to keep his car off the inside wall, so I think it was just a few self-spins here towards the tail end of the field. Johnston, that's a race saver, though, for car number 9 as he was able to save that race car and at least keep himself in it. He lost his track position, but as we just saw, with guys like Jancic and Wyatt Gray, you can make those spots up if things start to happen up at the front of the field. So obviously Johnston and Thess and the other cars involved there looking to stay in it and keep themselves alive. Zach Domer was the other car in car number 14. As we get ready for what could be the last restart of the night here in heat race number 2 of the PGR 500, we're going to take our first and hopefully only commercial break of this second heat. We'll be right back. Stay with us. You won't miss a thing. It's the conclusion of heat number 2 right after this.
When you're looking for a setup and a community that stands behind it. Team Watson Racing Setups. Serious setups. For drivers who are done guessing.
Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, the virtual World Center of Racing, and tonight's coverage of opening night of the 2026 PGR 500 as we get ready to go back under the green flag, the final 3 laps potentially of this second heat race. Again, 10 more to come after this one, but the first 2 tonight have been as wild as you could ask for. A wild finish to heat race number 1, and Austin, we're setting up for a wild finish here to heat race number 2. Not quite an overtime attempt yet. We're getting close to that territory. It is crunch time for the guys outside the transfer spots.
Yeah, it'll be a natural green-white checkered +1. So if we do get another caution, we will have one more restart. But man, with Landon Veliky and Jacob Dunn up front, you know it's going to be aggressive. But the man who is really aggressive, Zachary King, he has fallen back to 6th. Still up over 15 positions, though, from where he started this race at. And I'll tell you what, Dawson, these guys that are inside the top 5, top 10, I don't know if somebody needs to remind them, but they are in transfer positions right now to make it to the duels and LCQs. But a lot of guys wanting to go for that $60 to play with house money for the rest of the week. Guys further back, though, Dawson, similar to what we saw in Heat 1, you are at a bigger risk of getting caught up in a wreck here in the last lap or 2 of this race.
Absolutely. We've seen a couple of crashes so far in this second heat race. We saw a large incident on the final lap of heat race number 1 that took out a number of big-time contenders that led laps in that first heat race. You've got to think that's on the minds of the guys still on the racetrack here. By the way, quick housekeeping note before we go green. Again, Adolfo Delgado and Brandon McKee did not start tonight's race. As of now, they are out, and their journeys will end regarding, or unless there is some kind of scheduling exception made for those two. The break in the field goes to Jet Miller. He got his lap back under the last caution. He's got a clean race car, new life in this second heat. So it will be 26 drivers, 10 total spots on Saturday. Green flag in the air, off we go again in the restart zone. Veliky got the better start, but I'll tell you what, Jacob Dunn matched him punch for punch in the restart zone and will line up alongside Veliky off to turn 1. The push was better on the bottom, but I'll tell you what, Dunn gets up through the gears better. He's got the better help up top as well, and Jacob Dunn with a very impressive restart with 3 laps to go.
Dunn's going to be in control of this field as they come onto the super stretch. You've got to be careful, though, trying to defend the 44 of Hunter Hastings. He's going to drag them both down to the bottom. Trouble. The 97 spins. He's going to collect a couple. Will the caution come back out? Yes, it does. We are going to head to overtime as 2 cars spin around on the backstretch. One of them is the 97 of Craig Janczak. That's one of the Team Conti Sim Performance drivers. And I believe the other one is Bryce Delaban, who's going to have to tow that car.
Eric Salyers getting a piece of that one as well in the Tide Ride number 35. So we'll go back and take a look at where this one sparked up about halfway through the field. It was Craig Janczak that was the first car I saw get around. And as we head back to another replay that will send us into overtime, here is Janczak. He's right in front of Salyers. You see the Tide machine. Oh, it's Dulaban that comes together with a car there in the middle. Can't quite exactly tell who that is. Boy, what a save made by Cale McClenny as he almost got around in the Mobile 1 Toyota. It's mostly Janczak and Salyers that are going to get the bad part of this one. Janczak almost had this thing saved before he got hit a second time. And he may be okay, but a meatball flag for Eric Salyers means there is severe damage to the Tide Ride. You're on board now with Dulaban. That was right behind where this incident started. The car in front of him, I want to say, is the Cody McCormick machine, but don't quote me on that. Working through the field, it might have been Rockford as well. You see Chase Rockford on the name on the back, so it is Chase Rockford. And Dulaban, this is an audacious split there off turn 2. He gets into Rockford as Rockford tried to cover. Boy, that's a monster hit to the inside wall for Salyers and the Dulaban machine.
Yeah, that explains all the damage. Huge hit to the inside safer barrier here at Virtual Daytona, but the 35, just as big a damage there on the left front. So Eric Salyers also going to have to take it to the pits. You can only hope that these guys still have that one fast repair in their back pocket, but even so, only going to have 2 laps to get back to the front, even if you do get those cars repaired. So a big incident here, Dawson, as you see the view, man, just can't get over. That is a huge hit. That car almost got upside down for Delaban, and the 35 Tide machine, worse for wear as well. Kind of a lucky break there for Craig Janczak. The way that car spun back up into the track, he certainly avoided any sort of major damage. But as they line back up for the restart here, I'd be more concerned again, Dawson, with the way it ended in Heat 1. I'd be very nervous if I was the driver outside of the top 15 here for this final restart.
Well, nervous on one hand, but I think you got to be at least somewhat optimistic because, again, we saw a couple guys that were running well outside the transfer spots in Heat 1 managed to find their way into the top 10. Jason Dinsmore comes to mind from Heat 1, the guy that was involved in the crash that sent us to overtime and ended up running 10th in that race, and will race in an LCQ on Saturday. Does that sound familiar? Well, Eric Salyers, Craig Janczak, Bryce Dulaban now in a position to be those drivers. Dulaban, I don't think, was able to get back to pit road. Salyers is trying everything he can to get into his pit box. He does have the fast repair, so Salyers is still alive. He'll take a set of Goodyear Eagles while he's down here. Janczak is down for repairs as well in the 97. So both of those cars still alive. Bryce Dulaban and going to need a bit of a miracle now, unfortunately, for the 28. That monster hit on the inside wall. He was unable to make it back to pit road. So I know there's some fans in the chat of the Tide Ride. As he comes off pit road, he'll have another opportunity here to run for the transfer spot. So down to 25 for 10 spots. Start to re-rack them for you. Jacob Dunn, I'll tell you what, how about the restart that he had a moment ago as he was able to outmuscle Landon Veliky to the race lead. So Dunn will be your leader on this, the final restart of heat number 2. Hunter Hastings goes to his outside in second. Row 2, Brian Hennings has been up here all night so far. He runs third. Welcome back to the party. Wyatt Gray started outside of the front row. He'll go from 4th right here. Rather, started on the pole. So he'll go from 4th. Landon Veliky still hanging around in 5th. Brandon Cattell is up to 6th. Adam Garza is 7th. And it's Zach King, Cale McClenny, and Cody McCormick that round out the top 10. So we'll re-rack. And now we head into overtime. And let's preface this again. If you're just joining us, heat number 1 went to its only overtime attempt. It's going to happen here. There will not be a caution on the opening lap of this overtime attempt. This race will finish under the green flag as scheduled here in this final overtime attempt. We saw a large crash coming to the white flag in heat race number 1. It happens again here. We will race it out. The final 10 back to the line. barring a post-race review, will be advancing to Saturday's race. So, because of that, and why I said that maybe, yeah, you can be nervous if you're outside the top 15, but you can be optimistic. For guys like Sawyers and Chancik, if that erupts in front of them, you've got an opportunity to make it through some carnage and still make it in every one of these 25 cars very much still alive.
Yeah, very much indeed. And I'll tell you what, Dawson, this is going to be a crazy restart, not only because you've got desperation in the back half of the pack, but you've got guys that want more than just to simply advance up front. I look towards Wyatt Gray, Landon Veliky, and Brian Hennings. Those three, again, veterans of money racing. You know they're not just going to simply settle here for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. They are going to get aggressive and try to see if they can win $60 here in heat race number 2. Brandon Cattell still up here. No surprises there, but Jacob Dunn, he's been looking very stout so far. The big question here is, can the number 33 find a way to hold on and control these 2 lanes for the final couple of laps here tonight at Daytona? And I do want to make a brief mention, Dawson. You talked about all the fans joining in tonight, and we certainly appreciate it. We're going to have coverage all week long here on PGR eSports. We've got a lot of heat races left to go. The pole shootout, there's a ton to talk about, Dawson, and it's been kicking off tonight with a great start to the PGR 500 Speed Week.
Man, what a fun start it's been. Again, I talked about that these 2 heats would kind of set the tone and get us ready for what to expect later in the week. And if this is the case, it's going to be a wild week of racing. That's right, all week, every night this week, into Saturday and Sunday, where we'll go on a bit of a more marathon run with racing on Saturday before the feature at noon on Super Bowl Sunday next week. It is all week. All of these nights this week we'll be having coverage of constant action, constant heat racing, constant big-time stakes. It really never ends here for PGR 500 Speed Week. Glad you're joining us tonight, but buckle up. This, again, is just the tip of the iceberg. Heat number 2 about to go back green. Let's see who the 10 are that will join the 10 from heat number 1 on Saturday. Green flag back in the air, and Jacob Dunn gets another good restart. Hastings trading some paint with Brian Hennings is done. Gets into the restart zone. Again, they door banged shades of Veliky and King a moment ago. Dunn was able to get to the lead, but Hastings was able to side draft enough that he'll go to the point here in turn 1 with Wyatt Gray, and the inside needs to rally a bit here off the 2.
And that inside did a really good job of trying to match these guys up top the best they could on the restart. The top lane, though, is going to have all the momentum down the
Trouble out
stretch.
back. Colby Nill is around. There's a crash in the back of the field. It's multiple cars. And as they work back down towards turn 3, Nill was involved. Eric Sawyers was involved. Michael Lockwood was involved, but they're working back to the white flag.
No caution. Remember, we're going to race this thing out. Up front, Hastings leads. He's got a big push, though, right now from Wyatt Gray. Meanwhile, on the bottom, the 33 of Jacob Dunn trying to make his way back, coming to the white flag, and it's going to be 1 lap to go here at Daytona.
Yeah, 1 lap to go, sponsored by Bender's Bar and Grill. Cattell gets split. King on the outside. He'll take 1 car with him. Cattell in the middle with McClenny, and it's 3 wide back around the transfer spots. Up front, the inside's going to allow that to pull 6 cars clear. Back to Adam Garza. Does anybody go for the win from second on back? There's the move. Veliky, he's got Adam Garza with him. They'll lead the outside. Cattell trying to come back to both of them. Hennings, does he look to the outside here into 3? Dunn still runs in line as well. There's the move from Jacob Dunn. He's to the outside on the push of Veliky. They work back towards turns 3 and 4. You got to keep it careful if you're up front. You don't want to jeopardize your spot on Saturday. Off turn 4, it's an old-fashioned drag race trouble. Branches around. The big one erupts behind the leaders. Drag race back to the line. Side by side for the win in Heat 2. It's Jacob Dunn in a photo finish over Hunter Hastings as chaos erupts behind them again.
Veliky going to finish on the podium as well. Wyatt Gray, Adam Garza, all going to advance through to the duels, and what a finish. But a similar big-time wreck coming to the line, just like what we saw in heat race number 1. But what a win, as you said, Dawson, for Jacob Dunn. One of the drivers that maybe we haven't got to call a ton throughout the history of PGR. But here he is tonight, and he has had a great start to his week and trying to make it to the PGR 500 on Sunday. Obviously, he's going to win $60 tonight, locks himself into the duels, and also will lock himself into that pole shootout that will take place on Friday. Great job by the 33.
It'll be really interesting here. Some guys slid through pit road on that final lap. So we'll have to see if anything gets reversed there. We're watching the final lap again. First crash was Colby Nill. That was well before the white flag. Watch back here. Watch the run through from Zach King. Unofficially on my timing and scoring, King goes from outside the LCQ spots to a P8 finish. You're on board here with him now. This is a crazy crash, by the way. Jet Miller does a full blowover here, which I've never seen on this next-gen aero package on the iRacing service. You see Jancic, there's Miller, there's the 14 of Domer. He's upside down almost as Branch gets in it. Look at the 67 ramp up and over the top of Zach King. Zach King drives underneath a car and to a top 8 finish. He'll race in the LCQs in one of the wildest onboards you'll ever see.
Yeah, you're right, Dawson. I didn't even realize that the damage model allowed these next gens to crash in that fashion. But man, this is a tough one here because we talked about, obviously a lot of these guys racing hard to transfer in, but this was still inside of the top 10 here, and it just looked like the 14 kind of getting shoved through by the 67. Everybody's going for it here as they're coming out of turn 4. And well, when chaos erupts in that fashion, Dawson, you're right. If you're Zachary King, hold down the gas and see what you can do. But that is an unbelievable wreck for a couple of these guys that are no longer going to have a chance to advance through later this week.
Yeah, we'll look at the race results now from heat race number 2. It's Jacob Dunn that gets the win in car number 33. Alongside him in the second spot is going to be Hunter Hastings, a classic of a finish between those two at the end of this one. Hastings goes second. Landon Velicki's in the duels. He goes third. So too is Wyatt Gray. A nice recovery for the 18. He'll be in the duels on Saturday. Final spot in the duels going to Adam Garza in the 8 machine. First of the drivers advancing to the LCQ, a really nice run tonight for Brian Hennings and Team PGR. He'll go 6th. Craig Jancic, I said it before we went back green with Jancic and a couple of the guys back there that were involved in that caution. Just get through the carnage and you might give yourself a chance, and that's exactly what they do as Jancic goes 7th. Zach King with, again, one of the craziest drives I've ever seen. He gets all the way up to 8th. He advances into the LCQs. Kyle Urbanek, a quiet night, but hey, sometimes that's all you need. He goes 9th. Final spot advancing, Cody McCormick in 10th. He'll race on Saturday in the LCQs.
And the first big name that is not going to make it through to the next round, Cale McClenney. We talked about how good he was in the recruitment races this week. Not able to advance tonight as he finishes in 11th. It's going to be Peyton Tullock who takes home 12th here tonight. Ted Lispy back in 13th. Sterling Thess in 14th. And then you've got Conan Mickey who finishes in that 15th spot. Chase Rockford in 16th, not able to get the job done here tonight. Kyle Laver, we saw his name at the front a few times, but ultimately not going to be able to get there when it matters at the end here tonight. Zach Dahmer finishes in 18th. Colby Nill got involved in a couple incidents here tonight. He rounds out the top 19, and then it's Jet Miller taking home that 20th spot.
Yeah, Miller was the car we saw get upside down there on the last lap and do that full blowover. Unfortunate for him, he almost had the recovery of a lifetime. Jason Branch finishes 21st tonight from 5th to outside the transfer spots. Brandon Cattell eliminated in 22nd. That's a big name that is no longer going to be advancing. Eric Salyers in 23rd position is out as well. So too is Michael Lockwood in 24th. Brandon Johnston finishes 25th with Bryce Stilleman in 26th, unable to recover from that damage he sustained in that last caution flag. And 2 cars did not take a lap, Adolfo Delgado and Brandon McKee. As of now, they are out. We'll see if they appear in a heat later this week with some scheduling conflicts as well. Well, we'll move on now to PGR Heat Race Victory Lane for the second time tonight here in Heat Race number 2, and get to talk to the winner of this second heat race. It is Jacob Dunn in the 33 that gets the job done, and he's in victory lane. Steals another one away tonight. Maybe not a guy we expected to win. Goes to victory lane anyways. My partner Austin stands by with Jacob Dunn, the Heat 2 winner.
Hey, Jacob, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
I do, man. What's up?
Well, man, you go to victory lane here in the second heat race on the road to the PGR 500. So the first question I got to ask is, how does it feel to get yourself in victory lane so early on in the week?
Man, it feels amazing just being locked in from the moment I signed up, just going into tonight. I felt very confident. I know I've got a good team behind me in the Tabula Rasa eSports guys. So, shout out to them. They've helped me prepare and just maintain confidence throughout this whole thing. So I'm glad we could get it done for them.
Well, you speak a lot about confidence. Obviously, it takes a ton of that to lead at a track like Daytona. What was the key here tonight to keeping yourself up front and staying out of all the chaos?
Well, I got in that first wreck, just kind of door checked me, and I had a little bit of wheel damage there from the start. So I came and got that fixed and just kind of made a drive from the back. But I kept, focusing forward. I knew we had the car under us to do it, and just found the right people to go with, and made my way back up there.
Absolutely. And obviously, this victory going to come with a little extra money, $60, so that you'll be playing with house money for the rest of the week. Now, how do you get yourself locked in? How do you go get prepared knowing that you're going to be racing in the duels on Saturday and also featured in the pole shootout on Friday night?
Definitely just trying to stay relaxed. It gets kind of nerve wracking in these races when you're up front late. You got to kind of avoid letting it get to you. And that's how you make mistakes. And so we're just going to keep focused, um, keep trying to stay out of the carnage and see what we can do.
And sounds like a good plan. Jacob, if you had any nerves tonight, we couldn't tell. You were phenomenal out there. So before we let you head out to celebrate the Heat victory, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, of course. Just thanks again, guys, to the Tabitha Rasa eSports team back at the shop. We got my parents were watching, so I want to shout out to them. I got a few other friends and family watching as well. So I appreciate you guys putting this on for us. Great broadcast. Can't wait to watch it back.
And Jacob, we appreciate you talking to us again. Congrats on the win, and we will see you again on Friday night.
See you guys. Thank you.
Jacob Dunn, the winner here of heat race number 2. Again, we'll see him back on Friday night before he gets to action in the pole shootout, as he and Hunter Hastings will be the 2 cars that represent Heat 2 in that dash race on Friday night. Well, coming up next, opening night complete. We will start it fresh tomorrow night. 3 more heats on tap for you tomorrow night from Daytona. Heats 3, 4, and 5 will be set to go here from the World Center of Racing. There are a number of big-time names tomorrow night that will make their run to try to get into Saturday and continue on in the Great American Sim Race. And look, Austin, as we get ready to wrap this thing up, I'll tell you, we kept saying the words set the tone. We kept saying we know what to expect after tonight. Again, I think we're in for a really wild week of racing, maybe even wilder than a lot of these drivers anticipated.
Yeah, and I think a lot of drivers were concerned on not being able to make very many moves with this current setup. But I'll tell you what, Team Watson Racing, they helped us out a ton. This setup looked very, very racy out on the racetrack, Dawson. We didn't see a ton of the third lane, but that outside certainly showing some strength. So it'll be fun to watch as we go through the next couple of days. We've got some really stacked heats coming up, too, that are going to be exciting to see how some of the top drivers perform in those. But here tonight, the name of the game was definitely survival and track position. Jacob Dunn was able to do that here in heat race number 2. We saw Bomar do it in heat race number 1, and those two have had the best start you could possibly ask for to the week of the PGR 500.
But again, they get to be the first 2 in that unique wrinkle on Friday night that will get to race for the pole and try to get in to Sunday afternoon. That will be fun, as well as virtue of their wins tonight in heats 1 and 2. Hastings and Carruth join them. So 4 drivers racing Friday night, 10 total in the duels, and already 10 in the LCQs on Saturday. Already a number of drivers have seen their journeys come to an end. Looking through the list for tomorrow, before we get ready to get off the air and get ready for tomorrow, I'll tell you, we've got some big ones. Just some of the names to expect in tomorrow's 3 heats: Logan Helton and Malik Ray, Sean Conklin, Matt Taylor, who started last year's SummerSlam 499, Alex Coffey still to come, Chris Blanchard still to come, Daniel Falkingham, the defending champ, will race tomorrow in heat race number 4, Michael Cozy, Stephen Miles, who we've talked about a lot here during Speed Weeks. A lot of big-name drivers coming up in tomorrow's 3 heats, as well as the guys that race tonight. Michael Guest will go tomorrow. Nick Seipel will go tomorrow. Rocky Boyd, Raul Alvis, a number of big-name drivers to come tomorrow night. That's just an appetizer for what we've got coming up for you this week in the PGR 500. I want to thank everyone so much for joining us here tonight on PGR eSports. Thanks so much to the sponsors of this event as well. They include That Towing Company, Chris Carter Racing and the Flying Aces, MBG Motorsports. Later on in the week, you'll hear more about Dadbot Studios as well. And for Heat 2, we want to thank our friends at VRX Advanced Motion Simulators for their sponsorship of this second heat race as well. Well, for my partner, Austin Green, my name is Dawson Wise. Thank you so much for joining us for the opening night of the Great American Sim Race. Go take a little bit of rest before we get back to it tomorrow evening from Daytona. Again, thank you so much for your participation in tonight's event. We couldn't do it without you. Thanks as well to our producer downstairs, DJ Lyon, for the incredible work he did tonight as well. We'll be back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern for 3 more heats. The PGR 500 rolls on. What an opening night it was. Congratulations to Jacob Dunn and James Bomar, the winner of the opening 2 heats of the PGR 500. We'll see you back here tomorrow night. And until then, have a great night. We'll be back here for heats 3 through 5 tomorrow.